Both mics. Both mics, all mics.
Testing.
That's the biggest. Oh, we gotta give you the test.
What?
We have to give you the mic test.
I have the faith to bet that he may be the only individual. No, sorry.
Are you recording right now?
One of three individuals that may get this. Okay,
so this is the sound test that we give everybody. Okay. I've done this 1,000 times. I would say 95% of the people who I do this to can't do it. Can you recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Daniel Duce, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Duce. And you are listening to the Reholstered podcast. Are we good? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys, we're going to keep all that in there. Ladies and gentlemen, the long-range controller. Yeah. Dude, I got it right the first time. This is going to be a good podcast. The long-range controller, Daniel Duce, is here, and he knows the Pledge of Allegiance. We were saying before, in case you didn't hear, most people cannot recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and I don't know why.
Yeah, well, in schools now, they don't really say the Pledge of Allegiance, but what's really nice about my daughter's school is they say the Pledge of Allegiance every day. And so my daughter has this habit where anytime we're walking around or we're driving around and she sees the flag, she starts saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Really?
And so, yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh, I got this down. I hear it like 2 or 3 times a day.
Most people hear me say that and they're like, and they realize a lot of people get all the way through it, but most people miss a lot of people get all the way through it and miss 3, maybe 4 words, and they're like, what? I got it all right. Like, nah, you didn't say indivisible, or you didn't say with liberty, or something random gets missed. Well, Daniel Duce is joining us today on the Reholstered podcast. He is the the long-range controller. I almost said tactical controller, and then I was going to say the controller sniper, and I was going to say a bunch of other things. You are a controller here at Alien Gear Holsters. Let everybody know kind of who you are, what you do, and then also, because you didn't start out as a controller, give us your process and kind of what you have done, and then also what you do here at Alien Gear Holsters. All
right, so starting kind of way back, I would say, in high school, I started off in engineering. You know, I did engineering from 6th grade to junior year, and then junior year I was like, I don't know if engineering is the right thing for me. You know, I really enjoyed the tinkering and stuff, and I actually started thinking about my parents, and my dad majored in accounting. And I was like, you know what, I'll give accounting a try. We've got an accounting and business program at our high school. And so I started in accounting, and my teacher's like, hey, you know, I know it's your first year, but would you like to try for Business Professionals of America? And so what it is that it's a business competition.
Okay. I think my wife did that. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. And so that's what really kind of sparked my interest is the competing in accounting. So I did computerized accounting, and I did a couple others, and I won regionals, I won state, and I went to nationals for accounting. And I was like, okay, this is probably this is probably my go-to. And then in college, you know, I actually didn't start off in accounting. I started thinking about my mom, who was working to get her pharmacy license.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'll try biochemistry. And so, I jumping from engineering to finance, and, you know, I started in biochemistry, and I was like, you know what? It just didn't come as natural, the biology portion of it. So I went back to finance and accounting, and I was like, yep, this is my thing. And I started going through it. You know, I really loved my cost accounting classes, and that really drove me to want to go into a manufacturing company. And, you know, I was so big on firearms. I was like, you know what, I want to be in the firearm industry.
Yeah. And
so my first job out of college was here at Tedder Industries.
Nice.
And
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know. Sometimes people think I'm a lot older than I am, and sometimes,
I'm not gonna ask you how old you are, but you look mature, but not like old. You don't have as much gray hair as I do. You don't have any gray hair, so you're good. So you're still young. You're spry. You don't realize how spry Daniel Duce is until you see him at the range. Here, he got the polo on, tucked in shirt, nice slacks and shoes. You're like, oh, Daniel Duce is, nice mature man. Get him to the range and record him, and you don't know you're recording. You see a spry young Daniel Duce. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah. So I started off as the payroll accountant, and then a position opened up for accounting manager, and I jumped into the accounting manager position. And then when our controller left, we did some searching and found out, I applied for the position too, and came around that they ended up giving me the position after our controller left. And here at Tedder Industries, I've been the controller for, I guess it's since December.
Nice.
So
what does a controller actually do? Because I kind of have an idea of what you do here, because it limits
it
limits what I can do a lot of times. But what is a controller for the folks? There might be a young kid who might be inspired by you, Daniel Duce. What does a controller do?
So a controller really focuses on the control of finance expenses when it comes to operations.
Okay.
So really on the operational side, we go through a lot of the variances between direct labor, material costs. We try to find ways of improving cost on the operations side. So Andy, our VP of Finance, his biggest
Shout
thing.
Shout out to Andy.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
His biggest thing is he's like, I want you to own the operational side of finance. So he's like, you got to know everything that's coming in, everything outgoing. If I need to come to you and I need to know that you've understand the entire process, how it impacts finance, and be able to say whether something is true or not, or exactly how it's going to impact us as a company. And so part of that is understanding policies, procedures, and setting internal controls, kind of limiting the ability for people to do stuff. Now, it sounds like a lot of, micromanaging, but it's not. It allows a flow for managers to, okay, I know I can work within these boundaries, and that allows them the freedom to do what they need at their discretion, right? They don't need to always come to finance if we've got these controls into place. And so that, for you, we've talked about your budget and everything that kind of pertains to you in relation to finance. But as we have that structure in place, then you're going to be able to say, I know what needs to happen for social media, and this is what's allotted to me, and then you can use your creative ideas to then better help the company on the social media platforms.
Yeah, it's so nice because when we're out here creating content, it looks like we're just going out and we're just going to the range and we're just shooting guns. But what people don't often think about is what guns are we shooting? Are those the company's guns? What ammo are we shooting? I mean, shout out to Unlimited Ammo, who's been hooking us, hooking the system up. But there's always these conversations either between us, but really globally from this company, that it's are we paying attention to those things? Are we just going to Cabela's and spending all types of money on all types of random things? Or are we really fighting to have a process and communicate with each other interdepartmentally? I think if that's a word, to make sure that we can, how do I even say that? Make sure that we are managing money in a way that allows us to keep employing people, to keep a solid team here, to keep getting these holsters out to people. I mean, because I think that's ultimately the goal, is we, offer a product to people who want to protect themselves, but we also employ, I don't even know how many 100 people work here right now, but it's a good amount.
Yeah, it allows you to do a lot more, and it helps build that relationship. Not only does it help us as a company, but it helps them, because today we're going to be talking about the Nemo Arms rifle.
Yeah, and we have a number of companies. We did you guys will see this in a couple weeks, if not in a week or so. We did a shoot with some of our local SEER guys, and a number of companies homies sent some stuff out. We had Zero Tech send some stuff out. Nemo Arms sent some stuff out. I'm missing Sly Tactical sent some stuff out. I shouldn't even have done this because I know I'm gonna forget people. Who else? We had Zero Tech, Sly Tactical, Nemo Arms. We had
Night Vision.
Night Vision Network. Shout out to Dax. Dax was here. We had oh man, what are the fatigues? Born Primitive. I was like Born Primitive Outdoor, Born Primitive Lifestyle Athletic, Born Primitive Tactical. But the Born Primitive folks sent some stuff out, and I apologize if I'm missing somebody else. I feel like and then also Armalite sent out some thermals that we're gonna kind of continue to put in some of our content. We're gonna do a coyote hunt with some thermal stuff. So we'll have to get into that more and more. But today we want to talk about these rifles specifically. Kind of, I don't know if we'll compare, but like review the difference between the Nemo Arms 6 arc and then your custom built 6.5 Creedmoor. So, and this is going to be the Daniel Duce show today, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk to Daniel about like long range, that's why they call him the I already forgot, the long range controller. That's what they call him, the long range controller. He's our like precision guy. You know what I'm saying? Him and Randy. You know, Randy did it from an occupational point of view, and so he knows a lot of stuff when it comes to being a trained sniper. Daniel, though, I feel like Daniel just like gets in the weeds, and that's why you're here.
Yeah, I definitely get in the weeds.
Yeah.
You know, talking with my wife, Kylie.
Shout out Kylie.
Yeah. I have to call her out,
dude.
Anyways, but I'll start talking. She'll ask me, you know, how was my day and everything, and I'm like, oh, I got to go to the range, and you know, she's not necessarily into firearms as much as I am.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and I did this test, and you know, this is what I saw, and she's like, yeah.
Just like blind stare.
She's like, I love you. That's why I'm listening.
Now, before we kind of get into the rifles, do you come from a family of shooters? Like, did you grow up shooting guns, hunting, all that stuff?
Actually, no. I went a couple times with my dad.
Okay.
A lot of times he would have work conferences during hunting season, so there was very little time that we got to go out and hunt. You know, I was familiar with pistols. Just being in scouts.
Okay.
Was very familiar with pistols, rifles.
The Boy Scouts shoot pistols?
Yeah, we would do it as just an activity.
Oh, I didn't know this. Man, shout out to the Boy Scouts. I didn't know this. Are you still a Boy Scout?
Still?
Not Boy Scout. Are you an Eagle Scout?
I am not an Eagle.
Okay, I know we got a couple. I apologize. I don't know if it's a sore subject, but
no, I just you know, we were just focusing on trying to get boys to come to activities.
All right, folks, I had to stop the podcast real fast to make sure that you guys remember to use the promo code REHOLSTEREDMAY right now for this month when you are at aliengearholsters.com. Whether you are buying the award-winning Photon holster or whether you're buying one of our 3P products like the Stop Box or Strong Suit gloves, make sure you use promo code REHOLSTEREDMAY to save 15% on your purchase. Now let's get back into the show. Back to your childhood and guns.
Yeah, so my family didn't want to keep guns in the house. It was kind of a safety thing, and you know, that's their choice, and that's totally fine. You know, to each their own. And then when I got into college, I was like, okay, I want to get into hunting. I've always wanted to get into hunting, and I bought my first rifle. And man, was that taking it on my first hunting trip. My brother and I, we both got our first rifles. We had the cheapest ammo we could buy, just because we were on a budget.
Yeah.
And we found a couple whitetail at 200 yards, and we each took a shot. They moved away, and we're like, oh man, we didn't hit them. They moved out to 300, and we're like, okay, let's take another shot. And we missed again, and they kind of just stood there, looked at us like, you know, what's happening? And then they took off. And I'm like, man, why in the world were we not able to get them? And so I started doing some more research because we zeroed it in as best as we could. You know, we're brand new shooters.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at my group size, you know, learning about different ammunition. And I was like, and kind of looking at my rifle as it was, because it was like a $400 rifle, Remington 700, and I was like, my rifle is missing all these things that help me with precision, and so I didn't want to go back out hunting again and not feel confident in my shot, because hunting, I don't want to cause damage to a deer where I can't recover the deer. That's something a lot of hunters are kind of passionate about. If they shoot at something, they want to be able to recover it.
Yeah, for sure.
So then at that point, I started reloading. I messed with my rifle. I tried glass bedding it myself. I realized I didn't have any free float in the with the barrel to the stock, and I put a better trigger in, got a better stock eventually, got a better scope. And we'll have to bring that rifle in sometime and kind of show it off. But, as I improved on it and made these changes that I was doing the research on, I went, honestly, being a new shooter, so it's not just the rifle. Like, a lot of it was me, but sometimes I would have like 3-inch groups, 6-inch groups, really horrible groups at 100 yards. And as I personally worked on my skills as a shooter and fixed the problems with that rifle, it's not necessarily a sub MOA gun, because I only shoot 5-shot groups, but those 5-shot groups are generally within an inch. There's a big controversy, like Hornady podcast, they talk about, is your gun really sub MOA, because people only do these small sample sizes, when really if you took a larger sample size of 30 to 50 shots, you can see that your rifle does open up. But not everybody has the money. Not everybody's an ammunition company.
That's we have advantages here where we can try out as many holsters as we want. I couldn't imagine what would that be like if you worked for a ammunition company where you're just like shooting all the time. There's a ammunition company down the street, and they were talking about, there was a guy, or they do munitions and they do kind of custom rifles, and they were like, every time we finish a rifle, there's one guy who has to go out and shoot that rifle to make sure. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that has to be the worst job ever.
Yeah.
Out shooting rifles all day.
Yeah, unknown munitions.
Yeah, unknown. That's exactly who it is. Yeah.
Yeah, man, they'll even do a reloading workup for you.
Yep.
So they'll tell you what they found that was best for that rifle that they custom built for you.
Yeah.
And give you the data, and I think it's like you can get like 100 rounds or something of preloaded ammunition that they custom built for your rifle, because a lot of the rifles, they look similar, but each has its own variations, and you can have another Nemo Arms Battle Light rifle, and if you're reloading for them, one might like a certain load rather than another. Obviously there going to be slight variations, but that's just kind of what happens with reloading,
Yeah. So, and also shout out to Unknown Munitions. I believe they have a podcast, and I just can't remember the name of it right now. But shout out to those guys down the street. So let's hop in. Speaking of, each rifle is different. Let's hop into these rifles real quick. You're talking about you coming from your past of, that original rifle, and then you get into where do you go from there? Do you next go into building your own stuff? Like, where did this rifle kind of come into that process?
So this rifle right here, one of the things I learned about with my first rifle is you can have an all-around gun, but it's not going to be the best of what it is. So I started kind of going more precision, almost competition with my Remington 700, but I was also using it for hunting. So I've got a very long 26-inch barrel on it, and it's a heavy rifle, which makes it to suck when you're backpacking and you're carrying around the rifle all day. And, and then on the other side, just because I have to make it accommodate some of the hunting needs, it's not the best precision rifle. And so my first thing, if you're going into getting a rifle or building a rifle, is go in with a purpose. What are you going to be doing with it? Think about all the conditions you were going into it. This right here, when I was doing this build, I wanted to kind of do more competition. And so I was fine with it getting heavier, maybe even a longer barrel. But my biggest thing is I wanted to be able to tune it. Because on some rifles, the gas block isn't tunable. This one I purchased a tunable gas block, and I've got one of the EC tuner brakes. I wanted to give that a try. And then I've got my reload that I'm able to tune. Yeah. And, kind of relating it back to being a controller. Yeah. As a controller, I've got to be able to play around with variations to find out what's best for the company, to really understand how things are going to affect us. Yeah. If we allow a little overtime, how is that going to affect us as a company? Is that going to improve our productivity, getting things out the door? The same thing kind of goes with rifles. And so I wanted to be able to have quick follow-up shots. I'm not as fast as some of those guys in competition with their bolts, but it was really nice to have some recoil reduction with an AR and be able to have the fast follow-up. Now, this is a 6.5 Creedmoor, so it doesn't have a whole lot of recoil to begin with, but having the buffer tube in it, helps slow down that recoil. It makes it a little bit more manageable, so you see where your shots hit.
Yeah, it makes sense. So can you talk a little bit about the differences between the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 6 ARC?
Yeah, definitely.
And even kind of how why each one was developed in the way that it was?
Yeah, definitely. So 6.5 Creedmoor, I don't really know a lot about the history of why it was developed. Yeah. Probably have to go to Hornady podcast for that, because that's one of their calibers they developed. But it's a 308 head, so it uses its parent case as a 308, and it's neck down to 6.5. There's improved shoulder angles on it, but it really provides a better ballistic coefficient than a 308 does. It's much flat shooting than a 308. But with the 6 ARC, there's actually, I'm trying to remember, I believe it's number 12, the Hornady podcast, is where they start talking about the 6 ARC. But the 6 ARC was kind of meant to be a blend between a 5.56 rifle, an AR-15 versus an AR-10. And so I think Nemo Arms did a really great job in choosing to work with the 6 ARC. Just because if you look at the size differences here on the table, this is an AR-15 platform. So the action itself isn't as long. It's more, people are more familiar with the AR-15 size. And you can it's a lot lighter weight. So one of the things that we did is we brought the scale out.
Yeah. Pull it out. This is live. Here, put it up here.
Put it up here?
Yeah, put it up here, and then we'll make sure we don't hit the light.
Yeah.
So let's go 6 ARC first. Let's make sure I don't hit my dip cup. Oh, good thing there's only a thing in there.
There's right here.
Let's see if we can get it.
So this is 12.6 pounds.
Okay. It's 12.6 for the 6 ARC. Look at us doing stuff live. Come on. We're a fancy podcast, right?
This is just AR-15 and 5.56.
So that's somewhere around...
we're trying to get it to...
Oh, we need to... Look, this is live, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't weigh anything.
It might be too light for this scale.
Let's see if it'll... Interesting.
I think it might be... It's got to be... I don't know the threshold on this scale, but
yeah.
This is a lot lighter than that.
So light so that the scale is not picking it up. This is great podcasting, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
all right, 6.5 Creedmoor.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not flagging you.
That's okay. So these are not exact weights.
So I know this one earlier was sitting at about 15 to 15, and this is 15 right now.
Okay, so it's a little off, a little on. What was this one again? Was this 18?
No, it's less.
Okay.
So that one I think was around 14 pounds. Gosh dang it! I gotta.
It's okay. This is not live producing right now.
12.
12. Okay. So 12 and the other one was like 16.
Yeah, I've measured it on a different scale, and so it's 15 and a half. But yeah, we'll say 16.
But that gives you the differences.
So yeah, so this one is much lighter. You have a similar scope on it, but one of the benefits of having the 6 arc, I guess I should probably sit down again so I'm in front of the mic, but one of the benefits with having the 6 arc is you've got this lighter platform. You save 3 to 4 pounds on this. You know, this could have been a much heavier build. One of the things I haven't done is balance the rifle, and you'll see that on some competition rifles. They'll put weights on the front to move their balance of the rifle so it sits better.
Okay.
But anyways, kind of back to the 6 arc.
Yeah.
You get a better ballistic drop out at distance, somewhat similar to the 6 arc, or sorry, the 6.5 Creedmoor, where you don't have that in the 5.56. So you can deliver better foot pounds out at distance than the 5.56, but you don't have to carry as heavy of a rifle.
Right.
It was really developed for servicemen. And kind of referring back to the whole other podcast I saw, you know, they were having trouble with engaging targets out at distance because they learned that the 5.56 couldn't go as far. You know, the effective range was probably around 600 yards. That was the max effective range, and so they needed something that could reach out to distances better, like a 6.5 Creedmoor or 308, but they wanted to be able to still carry more ammunition and be able to carry a lighter rifle. And that's the benefit of the 6 arc, is to be able to kind of have that blend between the two needs.
Yeah. So we went out and shot these bad boys. The Friday before, me and you went out. Daniel helped me square my rifle away. I got a little 7mm, and then I have a 5.56. It's going to be my coyote gun, and he helped me kind of like sight in my new scopes. But then on, what was it, Monday? We went to the range?
Yeah, Monday.
This Monday we went to the range and shot these, and I was shocked. I mean, I'd shot yours before, but like even so, like this rifle with the Zero Tech, like I feel like it got pretty squared away within the first.
Oh yeah, with the first couple shots, you know, since it hadn't been zeroed in before, you know, we did our best to bore sight it. And when we hit the 50-yard paper, you know, we were 2 inches left, 2 inches low, and the shots were touching. You know, it was
that's what like was impressed me a lot, is like how just like accurate you could be just like right out the gate. But
yeah, then we took it out to 100 and we zeroed it to 100. And then we started hitting the steel targets after that. And so, like I had mentioned before, this 6 arc is a lot similar in drop compared to the 6.5 Creedmoor. You know, one of the cool things about 6.5 Creedmoor is there's this little trick. You know, you take your range, say you're shooting at a 600-yard target. If you take that, you know, the 6 out of the 600, you subtract it by 2. That's to get close to your true drop. You would then adjust by 4 mils. So you take the 6, subtract 2, 4 mils. And so that was pretty similar with the 6 arc as well. You know, I think at 400 yards we were about 2 mils in drop.
That's, man, there. If you've never shot 400 yards, I think I want to say the first time that I shot 400 was with the one I actually hit was that Friday where we were zeroing my stuff. Man, like it is like, I don't know if exhilarating is the right word. You just feel proud of yourself when you shoot 400. You know, I've shot like 1, 2, and I think I've shot 3 with Randy's Seekins. But shooting 4, man, that was like you. it's like you feel accomplished or something weird. It's like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be consistently hitting
Yeah.
400 is what you were doing.
Yeah.
It wasn't just miss, hit finally. It was hit,
Dude.
hit, maybe a miss,
Right, yeah.
and then keep hitting, you know.
I'm gonna be honest. I felt pretty tough. I don't know if I should have felt tough, and I don't know if that makes me sound like a nerd, but I felt tough. I was like, man, some bears are going down this year. Some deer, you know, in your mind, you're like, okay, I can hit the head of a silhouette at 400 yards consistently 2, 3, 4 times with a rifle that I'm going to be shooting with, like, and you know, this is like, you know, that's not that expensive. My rifle, my 7mm isn't like a crazy expensive gun. My optic's not a crazy expensive optic. It just makes me want to get more and more practice in with that rifle to just make sure that I can just kill an animal first shot, like not putting it through any unnecessary harm, like you were kind of talking about before. Like my biggest fear, even if I'm shooting at like predators, because when I'm hunting predators, most of the time this year, it's going to be on the land where I'm going to be hunting deer and elk. And so I'm even hunting predators. I want to put that animal out as quick as possible. And I think even just learning a bit more, kind of like your journey, learning a bit more about kind of precision shooting will just help that process more and more.
Yeah. And one of the things that you and I talked about that, you know, I'd really recommend is when you are shooting or planning on going on a hunt, you know, your goal was, you know, my personal max range is 2 to 300. That's what you were telling me. And I said, okay, if you're 2 to 300, go out, practice shooting farther.
Yeah.
Because you as a shooter need to be able to find your mistakes. And when you get out to distance, those are going to be exaggerated.
Yeah.
And so you can work on your mistakes out at distance, find those mistakes, work on them as a shooter, and then when you come into 200-300, you're more comfortable with that shot because you've been working on those exaggerated mistakes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until I started shooting. I mean, you realize it a little bit, but that didn't really come into my reality until I started shooting archery. Because like 10 yards in my garage, I can sling him arrows in a quarter size, you know, area with a group of 3 to 5. You know what I mean? Like I can do that consistently. Once you get to 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, you really start to see where your stuff is breaking down. And I almost, from the archery standpoint, I almost quit archery a couple of weeks ago because I was just so frustrated. But, you know, just talking to people like yourself who have kind of like been through those, like you, Riley is another guy I talked to, Trail Chrysler from Go Hunt. Like these people, y'all don't even realize it, but like, you know, you might be saving somebody's career or like hunting career. Just saying, hey, no, it's okay. Everybody kind of goes through this stuff. Just work on those weaknesses. And a lot of times, like you said, you don't really see that until you kind of get out to distance. And I almost feel like almost like too blessed because I've been able to, like, you know, I shot Randy Seekins, and he had already, and this is a trained sniper, he had already squared that rifle away. So I'm like shooting 100, 200. I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling confident. And then I get to shoot your stuff, and then you help me square my stuff away. I couldn't imagine like somebody who's just getting into hunting or even precision shooting on their own and is just kind of trying to learn on the internet by themselves. Like that process has to be it seems daunting almost, but it seems like that's kind of what you did from a younger age, is just kind of like figure it out. Were you, I can't remember how old you are, but were you at the age where, or when you were kind of getting into this, where did you learn most of your stuff since your parents kind of didn't teach you that whole world? Was it more YouTube? Was it books? Where did you kind of learn everything?
So a lot of the things that I kind of started off with was YouTube. Yeah. I went to like Ultimate Reloader. That's a guy on YouTube. He does a lot of comparisons. He'll like test reloading equipment. He'll test rifles. He'll give his tests, he'll kind of break them down, say, this is what I did for this test. There was a bunch of other reloaders on YouTube that kind of helped me get started into it. Listening to podcasts, I was trying to learn from other people's experiences to help myself. And so that's kind of where I started off. But a lot of things you still need to go through. I wouldn't necessarily call them mistakes, but you still have to learn those as yourself, because as an individual shooter, you are not the same. Like we don't shoot the same, right? There's preferences that you have when shooting, and there's preferences that I have when shooting. Not everybody is going to have the same length of pull. Not everybody's going to have the same comb height on their stock. There's a lot of those. And so there's actually a book. Yeah, you've got it over there.
Oh, yeah. Look at this, live on the podcast. Daniel's giving me resources, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so this book is by Ryan Kleckner. It's Long Range Shooting Handbook. Bright orange. He said he made it orange just because you throw it in your shooting bag, and when you're at the range, it's easy to see it and remember, hey, I've got my book here. In this, it talks about, setting the rifle up to yourself. So that education from books, YouTube, forums, learning from other people is what I did. I didn't have somebody, and I didn't have money to go pay for a class, and have somebody do all that with me. And so I had to find ways for me to still gain that education.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to go out and take a Buck Doyle class. Shout out to Buck Doyle. If you ever want to do a podcast with Alien Gear Holsters, holla at us. But not everybody has like the, we could set it up from a content standpoint that make that possible, but we also understand that not everybody is in a position to be able to make that stuff happen, which is why we want to have Daniel Duce kind of in our content more, talking about the basics of precision shooting. And we know that has nothing to do with a specific gun holster, but this is all a part of the shooting industry. It's all a part of like shooting sports. It's all a part of hunting, and a lot of times when you are out in the woods carrying a rifle, you might also have a handgun for who knows what. So it's a part of it, man.
There's been a time or two when I was glad I had my handgun with me.
Yeah. We want to hear about it.
So I know my handgun probably wouldn't have helped me at this point. But my brother and I were out hunting. We knew there were some moose in this area. There's this mama moose every year. We ran into her, and she always would have a calf with her. And but we tried avoiding her as much as possible. This one year, I was kind of setting up in a spot. I was like, okay, you know what? I should move. I want to be in a better spot where I'm more concealed. I put my rifle down, and I was kind of backing into the spot, and she comes up, and she was within 10 yards of me, and she was just staring me down. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have my rifle next to me. And one of the things, I had my pistol, and I know my pistol would not help defend me from a moose. But the previous year, kind of jump into another story, my previous year, this same mama cow charged my brother. And my brother used his pistol. He didn't shoot at the cow. He gave a warning shot with his pistol because it was not going to stop. And he just, I can't remember, I believe he kind of shot at the ground. Not close to him, not close. He just wanted to scare it. Yeah. He had to take the shot. He took the shot, scared the moose away. And I was worried that I was going to have to do the same. Yeah. And so I had it. It was staring me down. I just didn't move other than, kind of had my hand there. Yeah. And luckily I didn't have to pull it out. But there was another time where we had a mountain lion that was following us. Yeah. Dude, and we walked past a pile of bones, and we're like, oh, that's from a mountain lion. Yeah. And we saw it, and we started kind of going away from it, but keeping our eyes on this mountain lion. Yeah. It left us alone. Luckily we didn't have to pull out our pistols at all. But I was so grateful in that moment to be carrying a pistol with me.
Dude, there is. I feel like there is no more. The most aggressive animal in our area is a mother moose, and two, I feel like there is no eerier feeling than knowing that you are being stalked or followed or just seen by a mountain lion. Dude, just it freaks me out. Like up in where my in-laws live. I was hunting turkey. This is like 2 weeks ago, and I packed everything. I didn't get anything. I probably got out too late, and I start walking towards kind of one of their pathways, and all of a sudden I hear this crazy like vibrating gnarl growl thing, and I saw a hawk above me, so I knew there was something dead pretty close, and I just kept hearing that like whatever that sound. I don't even know how to classify a thing. And I was just like stopped and just like I think I had like bear spray in one hand, my pistol in the other hand. Dude, I know I looked crazy. Like if somebody would have filmed that, I know I would look like an idiot, but I was ready. I was just gonna give him a 1-2, 1-2. I don't know, man, but it was so creepy, man. So I'm right there with you. I had the 10 mil that day. I am so glad I had it, man. It freaks me out even thinking about it, to be honest. Yeah. But, well, Daniel Duce, thanks again for hopping on here. You guys are going to hear more from the long-range controller. I almost said the long-range sniper or the tag. I always mess it up, but I don't know why. Yeah. Thanks again, Daniel. And also, thanks again for helping us shoot these bad boys. Also, shout out to Nemo Arms for sending us out this bad boy to shoot the 6 ARC. Make sure you check it out. Also, shout out to all the other... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say Nemo Arms did a really great job with this rifle. You know, fully ambidextric. You know, I think... my brother is a left-handed shooter. You know, David was a left-handed shooter. Yeah. They did a really great job with this rifle. Great build, really accurate outside of the box, you know, with the ammo. So I was really glad that they sent that our way.
It's nice because you had somebody who is used to shooting, somebody who is proficient at shooting, shoot this rifle and do like great with it. But then you also had David Scott, who was our newest team member here at Alien Gear Holsters in the content team, the squad. He also shot this bad boy, so it went left to right. Or right to left immediately, and kind of both sides of the spectrum were able to shoot this bad boy. So shout out to Nemo Arms. And shout out to you, good sir. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That's a podcast. Cool. Thanks, man.